When it comes to self-development, no matter the method you use, the vital point is to practice. If you're ready to transform your life and claim the potential inside of you, you are in the right place. Welcome back to The Vital Point. I'm your host, Jonathan Schechter. As a transformation coach and breathwork facilitator, I'm invested in making the dynamic landscape of personal evolution accessible. My goal is to inspire you to take action for yourself. You have the capacity to evolve and bring your intentions and dreams into the world, and there's never been more access to so many incredible modalities that can help you on your journey. This podcast will help you learn simple methods you can use to transform your life and share the stories of practitioners who are doing the work so that you feel inspired to go and practice, because that's the vital point. Today's episode is a bit of a follow-up on the last episode, 81 with Taylor Bratch's rave rituals, going into the community and healing and ecstasy of dance and the rave culture. And, you know, that conversation really inspired me. One of the reasons I wanted to talk to Taylor was not only because her talk at the MAPS conference really spoke to me, but also just like it was so resonant, not only to where I started, as a raver in my like early 20s, late teens, but also to where I am now and some of the work that I'm doing for myself and like a protocol that I'm developing that, you know, kind of blurs the line between a recreational container and a more intentional ceremonial, therapeutic type container for working with MDMA and, you know, perhaps other medicines like mushrooms or LSD as well. So before we do that, I thought it would be nice just to drop in with a little quick practice. One of the things that is like cornerstone of this podcast that I really am continuing to explore is not only having a podcast where you're like listening to me or a guest, you know, talk about transformation. I really want to give you, examples and things that you can use for yourself in your own life, in your own practice. And so the practice that we're going to do today and that you can, you know, come back to, it's a quick practice. I've been incorporating it into the Thursday night integrative breathwork circles that I'm running. They're part of the breathwork membership, and you can also drop in per session for only $11. It's a partnership with Empathic Health, which is a private integration community, and Blue Magic Alchemy, which is my brand. And it blends, peer support, sharing circle with meditation and breath work. And so this is a little meditation practice that I've been incorporating. So as long as you're not driving, you could close your eyes if it feels good. You don't have to if you don't want to. But we're going to be doing a listening practice. And really discerning the difference between hearing and listening. And so if you just take a nice deep breath in to begin, just noticing how when you breathe in, your body straightens a bit subtly. And then as you breathe out, the body settles a little bit. You might notice a little sinking feeling that feels very pleasant. It's kind of that relaxation. And assuming that you're in a comfortable place, if you're not, just taking a moment just to make yourself more comfortable. And again, if you're not driving, close your eyes if it feels right. And we're just going to begin to listen. So you can begin by listening to the sounds in your external world, your external environment. What are the sounds that you notice? And the invitation is just to see if you can notice them. You don't have to change them. Maybe you notice the thought response that comes along to those sounds. Notice how hearing sounds in the external environment feels in the body. Maybe there's annoyance, like, oh, I'm meditating. Maybe they're pleasant sounds. And just see if you can notice them. And now, noticing your breath, really listening to the sound of your breath. Noticing where you hear your breath. Notice where you hear your breath beginning. Can you hear your breath moving through your nose? Can you hear your breath moving through the hairs in your nostrils? Where else do you hear your breath? And again, just listening. You don't have to change. If you find yourself getting distracted, just notice and then come back to the sound of your breath. Noticing if you can hear your breath from the very beginning to the very end. And then back into the next beginning. In and out in a natural cycle. Now I invite you to listen to your thoughts. What are the quality of the thoughts going through your mind right now? Notice how even though your thoughts are your own, how you hear them inside. And again, simply noticing, you don't have to change, but if you find yourself distracted, just notice and come back to your focus of awareness. And finally, listening to your body. Is your body telling you anything in this moment? Maybe where it feels tired or stressed. Maybe where it feels relaxed from doing this practice. Just simply noticing and listening. Whenever you feel ready, opening your eyes, letting your eyes move, wander a little bit, just seeing what they notice. and listening to how you feel in this space, in this moment. So if you like that practice, bookmark it, come back to the podcast, and hope that you use it well. Okay, so like I said in the intro, my talk with Taylor Bratches on episode 81 was really inspiring. Her talk at the MAPS conference was really inspiring on using rave as ritual. And, there was something that was interesting that I was talking with my mom yesterday, and we were talking about my very early days of being a bit lost in drug use. And certainly when I was starting to go to raves, and, she said the impression that I had was that you were always searching for something, and you were searching for God, for connection to spirit. And you were doing that with drugs. Now you're doing it with, more holistic methods, and, the drugs that I'm working with are more medicinal and more intentionally used. But I think there is something to that. When I first started raving, it really was this almost, religious experience, this like spiritual experience. And there's something about the community, the unity, consciousness, the expanded state, the acceptance from the entire container, not to mention the music. I listened to electronic music a long time before I started to actually go out to raves, and going to raves and like listening to it in that environment only made me love it more. So even before I knew what integration was, even before I knew what like intentional psychedelic use was all about, there was already something there as far as like experience in that container. And one of the things that I've been working on for myself over the past year is a more intentional protocol for going to raves. And I really like the results that I'm getting. And so I want to share that protocol with you. And really the point of this protocol is to develop nervous system regulation, presence, to feel resourced, and to build your capacity and to really feel safe in these environments. So like any medicine protocol, as far as I'm concerned, there's 3 stages. There's preparation, there's the actual experience itself, and there's integration. So, after. And integration really begins with preparation. So for me, what I've been doing is, basically at least a week before the event that I'm going to, I start to get intentional. I actually set intentions. I write them out. I spend time meditating and thinking about them. And intention is such an important thing, because I always use this example. I've been a practicing Buddhist for 20 years. And, there's lots of different types of meditation. Oftentimes when people think about Buddhism, they think about meditation. Well, there's a lot of cross-pollination or, meditations that are very similar to Buddhist meditations, but not quote unquote Buddhist. So what is it that makes a meditation Buddhist? A mindfulness practice, for instance, or a loving kindness practice. Well, to me, one of the main things that makes it quote unquote Buddhist is having intention, to be aligned with the Dharma, you could say, the Buddhist doctrine. An action has to have 3 things: an intention before you do it, the actual action itself, and then a dedication of that action, like the merit that you've accumulated, right? So it's almost like recalling that intention and like really like dedicating it. Okay. So getting intentional about what you're doing. Another piece of the preparation is to start to limit your consumption. I start to cut out any foods that really aren't aligned with, my highest good. I cut down on sugar, processed carbs, start to eat cleaner. And consumption isn't just what you're eating. I don't drink alcohol, but definitely would not be drinking. It's also, what are the substances that you're consuming? If I'm working with cannabis, am I using that recreationally, or is it like an intentional cannabis journey? What's the social media, the other media, the music that I'm consuming? And getting really intentional about my diet in that way. I'm also really getting focused about my practices, making sure I'm meditating in the morning, making sure I'm doing my breath work, my heart coherence breath work. Maybe I'll do a breathwork journey somewhere, during the week to start to prime my system for that expansion. Making sure I'm exercising, making sure I am sleeping, and taking at least a couple of ice baths during the week. Now, I have a cold plunge. If you don't have one at home, at least be taking some cold showers, last 30 to 60 seconds of your shower, turn the water all the way to cold and really just get in and breathe, get your breath under control, notice your breath, and then how the breath settles as you're more intentional about it. And if if you have access to an ice bath, 2 to 3 minutes can be really, really beneficial. Again, focusing on presence, focusing on getting your breath under control and really like not dissociating, not trying to get away from what's happening, really be with it. So that's a little bit of how I'm preparing for these experiences. Moving on to the actual event itself. Number one, I'm picking my container very intentionally. I'm not just going out to any old rave. I'm really choosing events where I really trust the DJ, trust that the DJ understands. Like a lot of the events that I've been doing this with are like extended sets where the DJ is playing for between 4 to 6 to 8 hours, taking you on this journey. So it's somebody that I know and somebody that I already trust, like really is kind of on the same level of what I'm looking for, like is using their musical expression of the set as this journey, as this way to control the energy in the room and really just like understands that. So for me, that's like DJs like Guy J, like Sasha, like John Digweed, Hernan Catano, Nick Warren, really progressive music, like melodic techno, melodic house. And if you're interested, let me know. I can send you some playlists of songs that I like, songs that I use when I'm not out in a public setting, but use for my own journeys privately. So that's the first thing, is just, being intentional about the container that I'm going to. If you're curious about this, sort of protocol, it might be a good idea not to jump into it at the rave. Like there's nothing wrong with titration. There's nothing wrong with starting slow. Like maybe trying this protocol at your house with like somebody that you trust first. One of the things about being in that environment is, you don't have to like go to the very middle of the crowd. there's a lot of stimulation. There's a lot of sensory things happening. If you're going to a decent party, there's going to be lights, there's going to be lasers, there's going to be, visual stuff, as well as this like really, really loud music. Definitely would recommend wearing earplugs. Buying custom molded earplugs for me was one of the best investments I ever made, because I like to go out and listen to really loud music. But it's also another way to titrate, like I can block out a lot of the overstimulation just with that alone, So maybe starting at the edge of the crowd and kind of moving your way in as you get more grounded, as you feel more regulated. So remember that the point of this protocol is transformation. It's to be able to have a more present, grounded experience in this, quote unquote, recreational setting. It's really blurring the line between recreational and ceremonial. And it's to develop your nervous system. It's to allow you to heal through letting what, is stuck in the body go, and really integrating this capacity to hold this, which is something that MDMA is really, really good at. One of the things about MDMA is it almost like takes away the fear. It allows you to get close to things that might ordinarily feel activating to your body, or like you might start to feel afraid. You might not want to go there with it, but it's like you can approach it in a more grounded way, right? So once I'm there at the actual event, it's really using it's using some techniques that would normally be used in a therapeutic setting in this recreational container, right? So the first thing is a practice that we often do on this podcast. And if you've done private work with me or come to any of my groups, you've heard me, use this practice before. It's from somatic experiencing of orientation. And I have a whole solo episode about orientation. So if you're interested, you can look that up. But really quickly, it's just letting your eyes go where they want to go. Really letting them scan, like move slowly from one side of your vision to the other. And then even like looking behind you, and really just noticing what's in your external experience of the sounds, how you feel like externally, like maybe the clothes on your body or your feet on the ground, the ground underneath you, the things you see, the things you hear, smell, touch, taste, feel. Another thing that has been really, really helpful to me in this protocol is bilateral stimulation via dancing. Now, I first started to get this idea through doing EMDR with my partner. And if you've done EMDR before, it's about that bilateral stimulation. Like you can literally do it on yourself by tapping in this bilateral way. So the nice thing about the music that's being played at the rave is that, 90% of it, if you're going to the same type of parties that I am, have this 4 on the floor beat, right? The beat is this constant. So it's very easy. Left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right. You don't have to do these like really complex dances. And certainly if that's what you're being called towards, if that's what you're feeling like, yes, this is what I want to do, then do it. But especially at the beginning, keeping your dancing like really basic and staying with that bilateral stimulation. And just noticing what's happening in your body as you're doing that, right? You might even, if you start to feel really good and really grounded, start to bring up something that you're ready to let go of, that you want to work with. And keep that bilateral movement of your feet. Maybe even do this on yourself with your arms. And if you feel like embarrassed or self-conscious about doing this in a public place, you could just put your hands to your side. So you got your feet and your hands. And then just noticing what's happening in your body, noticing if there's like something that starts to come up and like following the instinct, like letting yourself move. Dance is a natural way of releasing somatic energy. It's a very healthy way. So just using it in like in this more intentional way rather than just kind of like randomly. So that's the next thing. And then breathing. Taking the pauses that you need to reset with coherence breathing. And by that, and again, this is another thing that I've done whole solo episodes on. You can find it in the back catalog, but breathing in for a count of 5, out for a count of 5, in and out of the nose, really focusing on the diaphragm moving, breathing deeper, slowing the breath down. And so when I'm doing it, I'm combining the orienting and the coherence breathing. And I'm doing that as much as I need to, especially as the medicine comes on, to really regulate and be present with what's coming up, how I feel, really noticing the safety, right? And so, a lot of these practices are things that I do in my private one-on-one coaching. So like, for instance, I have a 6-week container right now, breathwork for integration. It takes you through a lot of these practices, especially where the breathwork and the meditation is concerned. So if any of this is resonating to you, reach out, send me a message, click the link in the show page, and let's chat about it. Another thing that I'm doing that, to me is like kind of a cross between somatic experiencing and something that I've learned in EMDR as well is noticing what's sort of been coined as this phrase of glimmers, and glimmers are the opposite of triggers. So when we feel triggered, we have this sort of discomfort, this, this uncomfortable feeling come up in the body. Glimmers are the opposite of that. Glimmers are these micro moments of happiness, of joy, of bliss maybe. And let me tell you, when you're working with MDMA in a rave, like hopefully you feel that. There's a lot of that. There's these beautiful visual stimulation. There's this beautiful musical, auditory stimulation. You might be meeting people and like they're being really nice, you feel really connected. Notice that. Notice how that feels in your body. Take pauses when you notice it and let yourself really feel it. In EMDR, that's called anchoring. Okay, so all of these things that I'm doing during. And then after the integration, first of all, next day, one of the things that I want to do is I want to pretty early on in the day, meditate and get some movement, and definitely work with hot and cold. So like I love going to a place, either locally here in Tucson or in Phoenix is where I go a lot, that has sauna and ice baths. And doing both, because I'm not under the influence directly of the medicine anymore, but that afterglow is still there. And I really want that embodiment. I really want to push the resourcing and the capacity of my nervous system a little bit in that moment. And I want to be really, really present while I'm doing it. I really want to focus on just being here with the sensations, noticing what's coming up in my mind, noticing that they're just sensations. And that's also going to have amazing effects on like my body recovery, sweating out toxins, on inflammation, on my mental and emotional health as well. And then that day and the next few days, I'm really going to work to protect my energy, continue to limit that consumption, to watch my diet in all forms, continue to journal, continue to try to get out into nature, continue to work and make art, really just stay with what's coming up. And I could go on and on about the integration. Integration looks different for everyone. And there's certainly lots of episodes of the podcast that you could listen to for inspiration. So again, this is something I'm developing, I'm working on. It's, I can see myself doing this with clients in the future. But for now, it's just something I'm doing with myself. But if any of this has sparked your interest, if any of this is relatable, something that, you feel resonant with, let me know, reach out to me. I'd be happy to have a, free discovery call about working together, about exploring breathwork together, about helping to learn to regulate your nervous system better. Because listen, there's a reason that I'm doing nervous system regulation work. It wasn't always this easy for me, and it's a practice, right? So, I wanted to, do a quicker episode of, just kind of following up on this last podcast with Taylor Bratches, exploring the rave as a ritual a little bit more in my own way and what that means for me. And hopefully there's something in there that you can use as well, and that you enjoyed the practice today. I really hope that you found value and inspiration in this episode. And if it struck a chord with you, I'd be really grateful if you could take a moment and leave a review for the show. It's a simple, cost-free way to show support and help more like-minded people discover the show. The more reviews, the more comments, the more the algorithm pushes it to more people. And you can also sign up for my newsletter at bluemagicalchemy.com and get exclusive updates and content, as well as a free mini guide to using breathwork for integration. And, like I said, if any of this struck a chord with you, I'd love to chat more about how I can support you in your own work. And remember, it's not about the method that you choose or the pace at which you travel. The vital point is to consistently show up for yourself and practice. As the saying goes, it's not the destination, but the journey that truly matters. And I'd be honored to accompany you on yours. So please don't hesitate to reach out, connect, share your journey, the successes and the challenges alike. I'm just an email, DM, or review away. Let's journey, grow, and transform together. Thanks again for tuning in. Until the next episode, keep exploring, keep growing, and above all, keep practicing, because that's the vital point.